quote from your book, and something you mentioned to me, which totally resonated, is that if you're not note-taking, when you said if you're not note-taking or journaling or writing creatively for fun, then you're not writing for you, you're writing for somebody else. And that really hit home with me. And I know that that was something that was a big realization for you. Often I'm focused, I know when I'm writing, on what I want to say,
Right.
not always thinking, you know, what the audience needs to hear. So I'm interested to know how did that realization kind of moment of shift come about? And how can a writer actually get themselves into that frame of mind when they're writing? Like, how do you get yourself into that point?
Right. Yeah, great question, because it's so true. And I'll tell you, I've been teaching writing since 1998, and it was well into this millennium when I had that discovery. So even after teaching writing, I was not really crystallizing that discovery until I started noticing how the writers in my classes who thought about other people, namely the reader, had more success in their writing than the ones who were stuck. Like Sarah said, we have so much to worry about when we write. And also, I think, like she mentioned in the intro, you know, for me, school was a long time ago, but regardless of how long ago, that might have been the only time we created so-called truths about writing, right? We got our beliefs about writing potentially in school. And our writing was used for a specific set of rewards at that time. And it was to show what we know. Hey, look at me use evidence. Look at my vocabulary. Look at my citations. I'm going to get good points on this. Please judge me well, right? And so it makes sense that we've gotten very into our heads, worrying about getting everything right, because that sort of paradigm didn't really recognize the need for another person to use the writing of the more interactive style of writing that we do in work and life out of school. And so it occurred to me, sort of observing my students, especially the ones in the workplace versus the university, you know, you're kind of stuck in your focus, right, about your own needs. And it's only logical. We are ourselves. And yet the greatest success can be found in writing by just thinking, you know, I don't have to wonder what order to put these 3 ideas in, for instance. I can decide what order would be best for my reader. Oh, number 2 is the most relevant. I think I'll start with that. And developing that other focus, which is something we've often learned in sort of emotional intelligence classes and about society, to not always focus inward, but focus on others. But we haven't always had that explicitly translated to our writing, to get an other focus. And I'll just kind of quick, brief, funny story. Ironic, I thought. I tested this out with ChatGPT once. I just wanted to see if it was going to write me a letter like, hi, I want to hire someone to do a business writing leadership class. So I had ChatGPT write that. It's ironic, but it was extremely self-centered. Every sentence began with I. And that further reminded me, you know, other focus is something people are not thinking about with their writing, to the point that even ChatGPT isn't picking up on that type of trend in our writing. And yet, you know how impactful it can be, because who in our room has not received a text that made you either immediately annoyed or immediately excited, right? We know there are these emotional impacts of writing. And now we're starting to see that that might be what's behind business crises like retention and morale and things like that, where if people aren't kind of remembering, oh yeah, these words are going to be for someone else, what are they going to do to that person's perceptions and behaviors?